morning. Happy Sunday morning. Namaste, all. So we're hopping on live and small technical glitch before getting here, but this is our Sunday morning moment. We're intending to meet each month with these various Q&As with a specific focus, and this focus of today is upon really any questions you have about this Pitta season as we come into this later time of spring and early summer, as we understand this season in Ayurveda. Anything that might be helpful from Rutucharya, from seasonal routine. Good morning, seeing various people hopping on. Morning all. So really the intention is any of your questions, anything that arises for you that applies to Rutucharya, that applies to for this time. Good morning. So really these are directed by all of you, and it's just a cozy environment for us to come together. It's kind of Sunday morning relaxed presence of this, of just being together in a way that can serve you. So yeah, this time of the year, as we come into early summer, and then we make our way into the summer, especially for those of us in the northern hemisphere. Of course, if I have any of our beautiful friends joining from more of the southern hemisphere right now, that is wintertime there. But for us here in the northern hemisphere and here in Canada, it truly is summertime, and with it comes a seasonal recognition of the increase of Pitta energy. So this is the time truly of Pitta dosha and amplification. Just seeing a question already arising here. Can you share your morning routine? Oh goodness. Yeah, I can share some of the gifts of morning routine from an Ayurvedic perspective, and maybe in focusing upon this time, focusing upon this Pitta time and this Pitta season, we can bring some focal point to that. So yeah, maybe you can see right now that I have a little bit of oil on the body and on the face as well. So I did what I might call this morning a little bit more of an involved abhyanga, where the body is drenched in oil. And especially today, I was using our Pitta abhyanga oil from Rasa Ayurveda, and I combined that actually with a little bit more coconut oil for my body type. We have a beautiful mangista herbal oil in our Pitta abhyanga oil. And that mangista I find is so helpful. Mangista is an excellent herb for the skin. So in the summer, and I've always had this since I was a child, being already Pitta primary dosha or Pitta primary prakriti, I would always start to have some skin flare-ups that would happen in the summer season, some heat that would express itself, including getting burned at times, but that heat coming out. And so using the Pitta abhyanga oil with mangista in it, the mangista oil is wonderful for bringing cooling. So especially during this season, that's one of the things that I try not to miss. Now, I don't necessarily do it every single day, because just oiling in and of itself and giving the oil massage during the Pitta season can be warming, can bring a certain stimulation. So 3-4 times a week using that oil I find to be wonderful, to bring a cooling and a sense of calming. You know, everything's amping up during this season. Everything's blossoming, growing. We have longer days that are occurring. And with all of that, we can tend to increase our rajasic energy, tend to increase our more stimulated or agitated energy. And so with that, even the way in which we do our morning routine is really important, that it not be, sort of obligatory and we jump out of bed and we're running to get things done. The intention of getting things done or pushing or obligation, this intensity, is very much a Pitta way of coming to life and a Pitta Vikruti, a more Pitta imbalanced way of coming to life. So doing it in a way that's joyful and easeful and relaxed also. So this morning, being Sunday, I especially take some time for a longer morning routine, this longer time in the morning. And so some of it was that, but before that, as always, in every season, I suggest that we start our morning routine with a moment of prayer, of really this prataratana, how we wake in the morning is so, so important. And so whatever season it is, irregardless of the season, taking a moment to reside, to just reside before we move out of bed is such a powerful way to begin the day in inquiry, to begin the day in really the quiet solace of our own beingness. And so that was always suggested actually as a medicine in Ayurveda, is that we start the day really when we move from the sleep, when we move from the sleep states and we come into Jagrat, when we come into the waking state, that there's a moment of truly residing. And so just residing with that. And then it might move into whatever prayer that you want to bring into the morning or into the day. We have a very specific prayer, and some of you who have been with me before, and I'm seeing some of you join, welcome everyone, who have studied with me before, etc., or we've shared time together before. This prayer involves really gazing at the palms, the hands, as we start the day. And it's said that all of the great goddesses, all of the energy of Prakriti, of aliveness, of nature herself, lives right here in our hands, in our fingertips, in the palms of our hands, in the heels of our hands, that all of that exists here. And so we come to an acknowledgement of, I'm alive, that exists here, and therefore, in that the arms are a channel of both giving and receiving, of reciprocity of the heart, all of this exists within my own heart. May I move into the day in a recognition of that which exists in this heart, both giving it and also receiving it. It's such a beautiful way to begin the day. So for those of you who might be new to hearing some of this, I see, as I said, others who have studied with me before. I offer every year twice a 50-hour Ayurveda immersion course, and we really go through not just the concepts of Ayurveda, but really how to integrate it as a lived inquiry of what it is to be alive. Ayurveda, the science, the knowing of life. So it really is this knowing of our own existence and a real savoring of our own existence. So the next 50-hour program starts in September, I believe September 1st, and we go through some of these things, including the entirety of what is called Dinacharya, or what's called a daily routine, including our morning routine. But other things from a Pitta, so just so everyone who's hopping on knows where we're at, we're really focusing upon this Pitta season and any questions you have about how you might bring balance and a depth of self-settlement during this time and healing during this time of summer. But the other thing I wanted to highlight, just from Discover Bliss, or to you, I wanted to highlight, besides that 50-hour program, we also offer a whole Dinacharya guide on the Rasa Ayurveda website. So hop onto our website. You know, there's a search button there, and in some of the learning resources, just look up Dinacharya and you'll find different blogs. You'll also find our Pitta season guide that's there. So we go step by step through some of the things, including some of the morning routines that you can go through. And in the Dinacharya guide, you'll receive some of these. But a couple other things for the morning routine during this Pitta season. So besides the way in which we wake, letting it not be rajasic, letting it really not be pushing or effortful or intense, to bring joy, to bring sweetness, is so balancing for Pitta in general. So firstly that. And then, of course, as I was saying before, for all of us, no matter what season, tongue scraping, brushing our teeth, doing some oil pulling as well. And then choosing, selecting, dependent upon the season, if we might do more neti or nasya, which is nasal cleaning or nasal oiling. You might decide to do some karnapurna, to do some ear oiling. You might also choose to use your favorite, as I was saying before, abhyanga oil, or to do some dry brushing to wake up the lymph system, all depending upon our prakriti, our dosha, actually. But especially during this Pitta season, it can be really wonderful to make sure that when we do bathe, and I so often suggest this, that when we do bathe, we either get to bathe in fresh waters There's something so healing about being in the fresh tepidness of the healing waters at this time of year. So whether you're able to bathe in natural waters of rivers and lakes, etc., but also when you take a bath at home or shower at home, really making sure, and we highlight this during all seasons, generally when we talk about snana, when we talk about bathing, but I want to highlight it again, which is that we don't subject the head to hot water. Doing this, especially during the Pitta season, can increase so much heat in the body. So really making sure that that the head, when we're washing the hair, and if we do hair oiling, we also don't do hair oiling and then go out in direct sun or keep the head covered for too long with hair oiling in the Pitta season, in the summer season, because it can really bring more heat into the body. So if you're doing hair oiling, using a hair oil like we have at Rasa, which is quite tridoshic, but also has some beautiful balancing herbs for summer season, like Brahmi, for example, but it also is good to use coconut oil during this time, especially for those of you who have more Pitta dosha. That can be wonderful to just cool out. And then when we're washing the hair, really making sure always that above the heart, you don't subject the body to really hot water. That really, it's not cold either, but it's just a cool or tepid sort of room temperature water. This is something that I find myself having to remind us all of, that we have the convenience of just turning on the tap or turning on our shower and having any temperature that we're used to. And especially for those of us who have more intensity of colds during the winter, we get used to hot waters and then we continue to use them into the spring and the summer season. So especially into the summer season. So be aware of that and come to natural waters and waters that will really help to bring that coolness and sweetness during the Pitta season. So I'm seeing others hopping on. Just a reiteration, today's Q&A is really for the Pitta season, how we can apply Ayurveda, especially during this summer season. And just to be really clear, we have basically what we might almost call two seasons in summer. In India, it was always called the monsoon and then the summer, but we don't necessarily have as much monsoon happening, for example, here in Canada. So we sort of have two summers. We have an early summer and then we have a later summer. And this summer season, of the way in which it's moving, is really this season of May to mid-July being the time of the early summer, and then that mid-July to mid-September being the time of the later summer. And so this time right now is where we can start to accumulate a lot of heat in our body. This is what we might call the accumulation season. In Ayurveda, we talk about an accumulation and aggravation season, and then also a season that helps to alleviate. So these 2-month periods are the seasons, different than we might have understood the seasons growing up with 4 seasons maybe. There's 6 seasons according to Ayurveda. And so this season now, this 2-month period, we're in the mid of it. It's very important that we be aware if we're accumulating heat. Because if we start to accumulate heat through our diet, our lifestyle, the things that we do, etc., intake or don't, then when it comes to the next season, which is really the summer season, what we'll start to see is aggravation of Pitta. An aggravation of Pitta can look like everything from physical manifestations to emotional, mental manifestations. So physical manifestation can be heat as far as digestive challenges, so pain or acid reflux or eliminatory challenges like diarrhea and loose stools. Or we can start to notice skin conditions like heat coming through the skin, whether that's acne or we're dealing with eczema or rashes, hives, etc. We can start to notice also that heat coming out through the orifices. So we start having more cold sores or cankers, or we start noticing that we're getting more red or inflammation in through the eyes, infectious or inflammatory conditions throughout the body. We might even notice that dandruff starts to increase as well. These are all sort of heated conditions that can happen in the physical body, as well as inflammatory swelling. So some of us might experience that, and general heat. You know, I have various of you who are both in programs or I work with individually who deal or are moving through dealing with some of the imbalances that have come your way during menopause. And so especially if we're dealing with night sweats or we're dealing with hot flashes, really taking care during this accumulation season that if we are eating things and living a lifestyle that is more pitta inducing or pitta vitiating, pitta imbalancing, then we're going to notice that some of those increases will start to come and find their way into the later summer season and actually manifest as challenges. At a mental level, these increases or the sense of increase, really, if I can say it in that way, of pitta, can start to show itself gently as more irritation, as feeling like we're hot, mentally we're fiery. So our tipping point is our fuse is a little bit shorter. All of those ways in which anger, aggression, they can start to just tickle in. And during the accumulation season, this season, it's really about accumulating, like we're getting to a threshold. And if we take care during this season, then that threshold won't be breached, but it won't be sort of moved over, we won't be pushed over the cliffs. But if we don't take care during this accumulation season, we'll notice that in summer, we'll start to have aggravation, and then we really will be experiencing the breadth of these symptoms and the breadth of these pathologies, which can develop into further disease and chronic conditions. So especially for those of you who experience some of these pitta imbalances in your life, this season now is where it's very, very important for us to be aware and to be applying the medicine of Ayurveda. So what to be doing and what not to be doing. That's really, really important. And I really welcome you to put questions in the chat below if you have your specific questions about this season. But during this time, really, it's so important that we be eating a diet that's more pitta pacifying. So having things that are cooler in general. So not having our spicy food, as much as I love Mexican and Indian food, if you're having it, making sure that you're not having a lot of things that are sour, that are spicy, that have a lot of, for example, tomato and chili to them, or a lot of things like fruits that are extremely sour, like pineapple, sour pineapple before it gets nice and sweet. Not having a lot of vinegars and our hot sauces and all of that is really, really important. And not having a lot of deep fried things and alcohol. Now, as I say all of this, everyone's like backyard barbecues and, we're excited to have patio drinks and whatever it might be. According to Ayurveda, this can be very, very aggravating, actually, during this season. So it's really important to instead be having more cooling things. So sweeter things. So for example, our berries and our fruits can be very, very calming. And you can look to nature to see what she's offering. I mean, it's not a coincidence. It's a direct gift from Prakriti. It's a direct gift from the earth, from nature herself, that she grows things during these times that are more balancing. So for example, greens, leafy greens are wonderful for cooling heat in the body. Berries and fruits, as they start to grow, both vine and tree ripened, you can start to see how they're offering as well. And even some of the wild offerings of herbs we'll see that start to grow in our various countries, like dandelion. I was mentioning this recently. We often have been conditioned to think of dandelion as a weed, but it's so beautiful to see the way in which dandelion is really prolific, maybe a bit much, because it's like when we've suppressed anything, whether that's in our bodies or in nature, she comes back with a vengeance. And so in that way, to bring, a balance. And so in that way, dandelion is really coming back with a vengeance. But dandelion is excellent for cooling and excellent for really helping to release excess heat from the liver. And according to Ayurveda, liver is one of the sites of Pitta dosha. And so Pitta being this fire predominantly, it can really help to flush and squeeze out and exonerate some of that extra heat that's held in the body. So we can even see the way in which nature is naturally offering some of these cooling things. Mint, another very simple but wonderful one that can help. Parsley, cilantro, all of these are growing during this time, and it can be really wonderful for us to start to use these. Cucumber, these are all starting to make their way into our baskets and our market baskets, and And so, or maybe into your own gardens. So start to see what nature offers naturally at these times and think of cooling and sweetness. These are really wonderful ways to orient your diet. And also, you'll notice that Agni, that our Jatar Agni, that our digestive fire at this time isn't as ripe for the taking, for the plucking, as it is in winter. So in winter, because of the cold, our inner fire needs to be stoked. It's like a wood stove. And so our diet is robust, or let's say our appetite is robust, and thus our diet and the quantity that we can eat can also be more robust. In summer, however, our appetite starts to, and that inner wood stove is a little bit softer. And so because of that, it doesn't require that we eat as much. So also be aware of moderation. If we introduce huge amounts of food or larger than our moderation, we'll start to see that fire gets really heated. And again, we'll notice that we'll start to create this pitta accumulation. So moderation also in our meals, not having extremely hot meals, and making sure that we're having well-portioned, moderate meals also. And then our lifestyle. Our lifestyle is so important during every season and every moment of our lives, because it really is our living inquiry and our place of lived Ayurveda, living the knowing of our existence. And so how we choose what we do in our career, what we do in our relationships, what we do as our pastimes, what we do as far as sports, what we engage in as far as spirituality and movement, all of these things are part of what it is to either live in alignment, live in the medicine of our lives, or to do things that are contrary to that and misalign us. So in that light as well, during the season of Pitta accumulation, it's very, very important as well that we make sure that we're not living a life of striving and push and effort and rajas, of agitation and stimulation. That's so important during this season, that we allow for a slowing down, a calming, a quietude, a real sense of relaxation as well. So relaxing as much as possible during this season is so important. And for many of us, because it's the season that we get that's outward going, blossoming, blooming projects, we don't really honor this. And we overdo it during this season. And because of also the days being longer, we stay up later. And, all of this, we're working, or even if it's, that we're working and having fun, or working around the house, or getting our garden going, or whatever it might be for each of us, or we just want to enjoy, what I tend to find is that there's a lot of overdoing that can happen during this season. So even though it can be very much, and it's a natural alignment to the season, that we be expressively more extroverted, absolutely, that there is this blossoming of this season, that we also take time for rest, for relaxation, for lying in the blossomed grass, and also swimming in our waters and taking our time to really slow down actually during this time, can also be very, very balancing. If you overdo it, you'll also notice that during the next season, when we move towards July, August, September, that you might start noticing that you're feeling burnt out or stressed, or all of those symptoms of aggravating pitta can start to catch up. And I hear this a lot as we move towards later August and September here in especially the Northern Hemisphere. And here in Canada, I'll hear that from many, that it's almost like that overdoing has caught up. So in our lifestyle, try to find joy and sweetness, coolness, chill out. So if you can, take some time for some really deep relaxation. And this is such an important one. I don't know if you can all notice, but I've put this morning also kajal in my eyes. And kajal is it's an herbal eyeliner is truly what it is. But it's a way that we can cool and clear the eyes. And in many ways it just clears and helps to flesh out the eyes. And I also did this morning because I went for a gentle morning walk. And really during this more pitta season, going when the sun is gentle is an important one. Not lying in midday sun, although I know many of us get excited about beach time, absolutely, but take care. So this is another wonderful one for one of you was asking about morning routines during this time. It's a wonderful one for cooling the eyes and clearing the eyes using kajal. We have it on the Rasa Ayurveda website also. And you just really put it on the inner line. can be put on the inner line, and then while blinking, it starts to enter into the upper line also, and then starts to be able to enter into the tear ducts, and it starts to clear into the sclera, and it's really, really just cleansing and clearing and refreshing for the eyes. And it's very protecting also for the sun. So putting this little bit, as you can see, it's a little bit of black from the ash that's in it. What helps with that is really, it's like a natural way to wear sunglasses. Not that with my light eyes, I don't also enjoy wearing sunglasses, to be very honest. But using this, it helps so much. And the first time I was introduced to this, it made such a game changer living so many years in India. It's helped so much with the glare from the sun. So, or just the intensity of the sun, but also highlighting that when we do go outside or we're having activity or even exercise, make sure that it's done in those more gentle hours of the sun and not spending a lot of time just lying out in the sun, especially for those of you who have Pitta Prakruti or Pitta Vikruti. Be very aware of those times and how we're connecting to the sun. For those of you who have more Kapha Prakruti, it may be very nice for you to be out in the sun, although we never suggest being directly over inundated by any of the elements. I see a question coming from Leslie. Hi, Leslie, about what about excess during this season? I'm just wondering what you mean by excess. So if you can type further what you mean by that about excess, then I would be so happy to answer that question also. So generally with lifestyle, while I'm waiting for Leslie to write that, just really making sure that we bring those qualities of coolness, calmness, sweetness, joy. I wondered if it was eczema. Yeah. So absolutely, during this season, we can start to experience an accumulation, but we can experience, especially in the next month or two, for those of you who do experience this, you might experience a flare-up of eczema. Although gentle sun exposure for some can be helpful actually with eczema. Just gentle sun exposure doesn't always help to have excessive sun exposure, but really eczema, again, the eczema that may be caused from a root of Pitta imbalance or excess fire in the system. It's very important that we, in Ayurveda, honor and acknowledge that we deal with the root, not the symptom. So not that we don't have wonderful ways that we can deal with eczema topically. So absolutely, using, for example, topical aloe vera or using topical calendula is a wonderful Western application from Ayurveda, or using topically also coconut oil can be a wonderful one with a tiny bit, for example, of mangista and neem. More mangista than neem as far as herbs, even a little bit of Brahmi oil as well. Actually, our Pitta Abhyanga oil is wonderful for eczema. So we can do these things topically. And I see that Yella is also asking about psoriasis. This can help also with psoriasis, although psoriasis often isn't as helped by sun exposure, and it can actually be further aggravated. Depends on, but especially Pitta induced, or let's say because of a Pitta Vikruti. But those oils that I just mentioned can be very helpful in psoriasis as well. But the other thing is that we want to really deal with the Pitta imbalance from the inside. So what can be very, very helpful is taking internally, cooling herbs, and also internally making sure that we are deeply hydrated. So what are some of the ways that we can do that? One of the ways that that may be surprising for some of us is not what we start to introduce, but what we actually start to let go of, which is caffeine. So especially those of us, caffeine and alcohol, who are drinking things that create excess heat in the system, coffee, black tea, red wine, beer, some of these ways that excess heat can be stored in the body and can increase internal bile production, then it's very, very important that we start to lighten these, that we start to work, and it doesn't have to be hard and fast, but that we start to work slowly but surely to remove these from our lifestyle, and really to remove these from things that we intake. So again, things that introduce caffeine and also alcohol into the body can be very important to start to relieve. Leslie's also asking matcha tea with oat milk. Matcha tea also, of course, has caffeine, and someone asked me about this yesterday. So as far as matcha, it's a bit more of a clean source. And you see, matcha, of course, it wasn't something that was, used or something that was really there in the tradition of Ayurveda as it emerged from India. So we find this more from, of course, the land of TCM and traditional Chinese medicine, etc. So matcha, in many ways, can be a wonderful antioxidant, but still with its caffeine, if you deal with some of these skin conditions, it can be good to give a little time of respite from this. Although, as a clean form, although it has caffeine, some of the other benefits of matcha, especially with kapha-induced conditions, I will occasionally suggest that one move from coffee to matcha, and that it's okay that they continue actually with matcha tea. Now, that isn't the case for all of us, but that can be helpful for certain constitutions at a certain time. So I just want to highlight that. And oat milk does help to soften, or coconut milk can also help to soften some of the effects of the drying effects that can happen with that. Now, what I do want to say is introducing moisture and coolness. So how do we introduce moisture and coolness into the body? So, and then I'll come to the question that I'm seeing also from Aaron. Hi, Aaron. So I'll come to that question in a second. So what are some really simple ways, everyone, that we can introduce moisture and cool? And I love to introduce both some Indian herbs and then also some more simple herbs and offerings of the earth from some of our more temperate climates and from some of our earths here, our soils here. So let's think of very simple ones, like I said before. Mint. Mint can be a wonderful, having some mint tea, generally drinking mint infused water, wonderful. Dandelion, again, a really wonderful one. Comfrey, so comfrey can be a wonderful one. Fennel, licorice, these are wonderful. So you can make decoctions. Actually at Ayurveda, at Rasa Ayurveda, we recently introduced our CCF tea. So this is cumin, coriander, and fennel. It is the whole seeds, the bija of each of these, and these can be boiled or they can be sun infused. So basically placing a half a teaspoon of each into a liter of water. You can't go wrong. If you want more of a dense infusion, you can do a teaspoon of each of those, or you can use our blend and put a couple teaspoons of that into a liter of water and just let it infuse in the sun, especially in those morning hours, but throughout the day, and then drink this CCF tea. It's wonderful for helping to balance the digestion without increasing excess heat in the body. It's wonderful as a demulcent, so it brings increased moisture and hydration, and it's wonderful also for cooling the system. It brings sort of a neutrality to the temperature of the body. But fennel seeds alone also are a really wonderful one. Taking from Ayurveda, even mangista internally can be wonderful. So we have a skin purge potion at Rasa Ayurveda that I would very much suggest. It's another way that you can take something internally that really helps to bring coolness and calming to Pitta in the digestive tract, but also in the blood and into the liver. And it includes things like mangista and brahmi and aloe vera and dandelion, nettle. All of these are wonderful, both Western herbs as well as traditional, more Eastern Ayurvedic herbs as well. I shouldn't even say Ayurvedic herbs, because to be honest, Ayurveda is world inclusive. We're one family. And so similarly, Prakriti, nature, is one family. So what I mean really is Indian herbs, in that they arise from those soils and those lands and are appropriate, especially for those from those places. So apply really internally, taking things that are more cool as much as possible. And this is the season where we can have a little bit more of our juices, or we are going to, in the next couple days, I'm going to put up a beautiful rose water buttermilk, and a vegan buttermilk, so more like a coconut lassi. And this will really help you to bring a cooling internal drink as well. So look up things around that. Yes, melons can be a nice one as well. You know, many of us enjoy having watermelon during this time. So some of our melons are more juicy, sweet melons can be helpful. Let me move to Aaron's question. Any recommendations for a farmer who uses their body as a machine from May to October? Maybe an herb that helps balance and prepare me for the winter months without being in a state of shock from the rest. Yeah, this is beautiful, and it's exactly what, and we're so thankful, I want to say, to all of you who truly are offering us food in the most beautiful, blessed way. And Foragers Farms, which is the love ship of Aaron and Tyler and their young son, is such a beautiful gift to this planet, and I'm so deeply thankful to this reinvigoration of farming, and the beauty of that with young couples and young individuals, and many of us coming to it again. And so thank you to them and for all the work that you do, because as she says, the body is well used during that time. So as I was saying before, Aaron, really, really important that you cover with a hat, that you make sure that the body, it's wonderful to get sun. It's excellent for us to receive, of course, the gift of vitamin D. But it's also really important that we're not over inundated by sun. So during that time, even if we are using the body, make sure that you're not over storaging sun during that time and heat. And you do have Pitta in your constitution, so that's really, really important that we do that. That we also make sure that throughout the day, the things I was just mentioning a minute ago, that we're drinking. So for example, CCF infusion, drinking maybe also some dandelion infusion, making sure that you're having some mint, maybe making sure also that you're having some cucumber juice or some mint and cucumber as well juice, just really staying hydrated. Fennel throughout the day, some fennel tea, and that we take little moments, even if, and this is what I say even to my individuals that I work with that work hard, even at a computer, to be honest, that have more Pitta in their constitution. It's really, really important to take those little micro relaxations, micro rest periods. And they're a beautiful way to also infuse the work with inquiry. So what I mean by that is a little pause, a little sandhi. So you're working for an hour and then you stop and lie on the earth, or you stop and lie in the shade. And then you go again for another hour or so, and then you stop and you lie in the shade. That's really, really important. It's more important to do that, to have those micro stops, than to work for 4 hours and then take, for example, 30 minutes. So actually taking those little micro breaks, even if they could be 10 minutes, taking those micro breaks is really, really important. And that's a wisdomful approach for any of us who have more Pitta constitution. And I have to remind myself of this medicine all the time. Just like to rest and to stop for a moment. And then to go again. It really helps that digestion energy, the transformation energy of Pitta, to not be burning as much as possible. And she's saying that she has an alarm on her phone to remind me to breathe every few hours. Exactly, that's so beautiful. And yeah, that CCF is a wonderful one, Aaron. And generally to be making, I know that you grow wonderful, both edible flowers and also medicinal teas as well. So make sure that you're having some of those more cooling and sweet ones that you're growing. So also if you have things like comfrey, or if you're having some rose that you're growing as well, some of these ones that are a little bit more calming and cooling, hibiscus. So we have a wonderful Pitta tea also at Rasa Ayurveda. And this Pitta tea becomes a constant for me actually in the summer. And it's a beautiful color. It looks like such a glorious potpourri actually. And you can even put it into a bath. So our teas are not just teas that can be internally taken, but they can be taken through the skin. So our Pitta tea is wonderful in that it has tulsi with 3 different varieties of tulsi of holy basil. And then that holy basil is also combined with gotu kola. Gotu kola is wonderful for especially calming heat in the mind. So if we get heated in the mind, if we get fiery in the mind, and then it also is paired with hibiscus and also rose. These are wonderful, and just the color of it is this pink is such a wonderful color that's also good for Pitta. It's like there's a sweetness, a softness, a wonderful kind of joyful quality to pink as well. Oh, you're so welcome. Any other questions? We have about 10 minutes left together. I'm seeing that Leslie was asking about celery juice. Yes, there's so much I don't want to say fanaticism, but excitement about celery juice. At the right time for the right person, anything can be medicine. But also at the wrong time, in the wrong placement, things can be misaligned or they can cause imbalance. So in that way, this whole celery juice fad, celery juice is wonderful at the right time for the right person. Celery in and of itself is more of a diuretic. So what it does is it's lekana. It's scraping in the body. So what it'll do is it will scrape out heat from the system. Wonderful if we have heat or we want to lose weight. And unfortunately in North America, most of us have this conditioning of wanting to lose weight. This is the first winter, because I've been here in Canada, where this body has properly stored probably about 5 pounds of weight. And you can see it on those of you who have known me long term, you can see it on my face. It stores in all of the fat deposit kind of places. It's maybe some COVID weight also, but it's wonderful that we have that natural fluctuation, just gentle fluctuation, that during the winter we have some storage, so that during the extroversion of this summer season, like Erin from Forager's Farm was sharing, a lot of us there may be more output, and we need that vitality, that ojas during that time. So if during winter we're trying to lose weight and have things like celery juice, which is clearing and cleansing and cooling, this is ill-applied for the seasons. So celery juice during the winter, I don't suggest for very many people, except if you have a lot of pitta in your system. Then okay, we could have celery juice maybe combined with some ginger, or for example combined with some other warming juices, or also having it with a bit of warm water, or having, for example, a celery soup maybe also during that time, or a celeriac soup. Okay, in those ways, then that's really more appropriate to that season. So celery juice during this time can be wonderful, but nevertheless, we never suggest in Ayurveda, even during the Pitta season, to have anything with ice or extremely cold. So how do we do that? We just have it room temperature, and even in the morning time, we still want our digestion to be gently kindled. So having a warm tea or having a gentle warm breakfast, never starting with a freezing cold smoothie or frozen berry smoothie or something where we add ice, and really avoiding ice. I see these, ice balls are becoming all the rage, those balls that you freeze in the freezer. I know it because some family members, wink wink, love these. And I keep staying on us about the fact that when we use these ice balls, what it does is it actually makes the digestion work harder. And so when it works harder, or using any ice, any cool berries, using frozen margaritas, besides the alcohol in that, also the coldness of it, when we do this, what this does actually, you think you're cooling the body off or down, but what happens is the Agni, the Jatar Agni, has to work harder to get back to its place of digestive balance, neutrality, and so it starts to warm up even more. So you actually increase the inner heat even more. It's been introduced, cold has been introduced, so now it says, okay, how can I heat things up more? And so actually what we do is, when we're habituated to drinking really cold things, or we're habituated to icy things, or having lots of ice cream, I'm not saying that I don't love me some vegan ice cream in the summer, but really making sure that we're not constantly introducing cold things into the digestion, because they will actually heat the body up more. So trying as much as possible to keep things in a more neutral pitta balancing place is really, really important. Other questions? We have 8-9 minutes left. It's a joy as always to be with you in this way. I will be offering, in 2 weeks' time, I will be offering a workshop. It's a Saturday workshop, 6 hours with a nice relaxing lunch break also. It's for each one of the seasons we have a workshop, and so this is our Rutucharya, our seasonal workshop for Pitta dosha. And really, coming to this workshop, you're going to learn many of the things I've been mentioning, and well beyond. You receive also a whole host of information and slides and things that you can take for the rest of your life, actually, to be very honest, so that you can be aligned to the seasons. So coming to these seasonal workshops can be something not just for now, but it'll be something you get the recording also, something that then you'll have access to for the rest of your days, that you can apply and come back to and continue to learn how to live in alignment with Rutucharya, with the seasonal routine. So that's coming up, if I remember, in this Pitta memory of mine, June 27th. I hope that's a Saturday. I can't check my calendar right now, but if it is, it's from 10 to 4 and 10 to 4 EST, so Eastern Standard Time, Toronto or New York time. But as I mentioned before, it's recorded, so even if you're not able to join live, you can join from the recording as well. And we'll go into more depth with all of these things. You'll really learn all the foods, the herbs, the lifestyle, various things that apply for this time, and how to see signs and various things, various imbalances, really applying also some gifts from yoga and meditation and the whole yogic tradition that can apply during this Pitta season. Anything else that's arising for anyone? Any questions that you'd like to ask as we come to the end of our time on this beautiful sunny morning? Otherwise, please do enjoy this season. You know, there sometimes when we hear about Rutucharya, so living in alignment with the seasons, sometimes what happens for people, I notice this, is that it's almost like we feel like we have to ward ourselves against, or we have to fend off the imbalancing effects of the seasons. And what I really want to mention is there's no mistake. There's no mistake to Prakriti, to nature, to the seasonal rhythm. So it's a true joy. What we're talking about is just in case there are some imbalances that arise during these seasons. But otherwise, let the seasons be a joy. Let the seasonal unfoldings be a joy. The natural unfoldings of the seasons and their shifts of the bhutas, their shifts of the elements, really are the way in which, in the seasonality of our system, we get to enjoy the full spectrum of all elements. We get to enjoy the full spectrum of what it is to be in connection and to live and be embodied of all of nature, of all of her aspects. Everything from hibernation to great extroversion, to falling away and destruction, and to molting, to also moving towards blossoming and flowering and fruition. All of those aspects of the seasons live within us. And so every one of these seasons is no mistake, and it has great gifts. And the summer season has the gift of sunniness and warmth and blossoming and joy and great brightness and shining light and all of those qualities. So let yourself enjoy all of that, and great harvest as we move towards, the later summer season as well. So also enjoy fruition and enjoy the beauty of this bright summer season, but let's not overdo it so that we can all really be in joy, to enjoy truly. And Leslie is asking, will Rasa products be available in Quebec? Absolutely. Leslie knows that Rasa Ayurveda, our homestead and our station, will be moving from here in Ontario, in Peterborough, Ontario. We're going to be moving just over the border, close to Ottawa, but over the border into Quebec. We will still have a place here in Peterborough, so we're about to announce that soon. So there will be a place where you can either go for pickups of our entire line, and we do have some beautiful natural health food stores and stockists here in Peterborough also that already stock us. So for example, we have Ritual Apothecary and Joanne's, and we have a couple yoga studios also, for example, Sarovara Yoga. So there are some various places here in this area that stock us, as well as throughout Ontario. So you can look on our website for stockists. But also in Quebec, I'm trying to think. We have one yoga studio, Atma Yoga, in Montreal, which stocks some of our products. So please look them up. And the beautiful Mary Claire, she's also or Mary Christine rather, she has done programs with myself, and she's offering a beautiful space. So she has many of our products. And I think we have a couple other stockists in Quebec. You know, it's always growing. So please look that up on our website where you can receive our Rasa products. But we will also be available for pickup as well in Wakefield, in La Pêche, in Quebec, where we'll be moving in July. So by the end of July, that will be available as well. And I look forward to also growing our family in Quebec and in that part of Canada, and offering more workshops, and hopefully in the future, as all of this, what's happening softens, we will also have the availability for Ayurvedic retreats and private retreats and panchakarmas. So look forward to that. I'm excited about that and what's coming as far as all of that, and as far as offering Ayurveda in Canada, and especially in this area of Canada. And for anyone really around the world who feels touched by the way we offer it through Rasa Ayurveda. So feeling very, very blessed, and as always, very, very thankful to all of you who support, and all of you who have been along for the journey with us and with myself, and who trust us, who really deeply trust us, and to be very, very, trusting in this way with your health and your embodiment and your own lives is so touching for us. And every day we receive testimonials about the ways in which our various offerings from the apothecary, our medicines, our products are changing lives. So we're so grateful for that, as well as all the educational programs. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there are other educational programs coming up, so check that out on our website. We have monthly workshops. We also have the twice yearly 50-hour Ayurveda immersion, another one coming up in September. I also offer women's Ayurveda and Tantra online programs. And just a month ago, I launched something called the Sadhana membership, which is a way that you can practice with me, which is truly that every week I'm offering meditations, yoga, and little inspirations, little offerings that really come from the Vedic tradition. So you can have this as an ongoing involvement with a sangha, with a community. So this is many ways that you can stay in touch with us and be connected to us, and also these IG lives. So please send questions, send topics you would be interested in. We love being connected to all of you, and have a beautiful Sunday, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Sunday wherever you are in the world, whether you have the rest of the Sunday in front of you or you're making your way to sleep. Many blessings to all of you, and I hope that we can all find deep harmony during this time of this Pitta season. Love to each and every one of you. Namaste, all. See you soon.